Marcus worked 2 jobs but couldn't save his dying daughter. When he saw a stranger being murdered in a parking garage, he had one choice: walk away or risk everything. That split-second decision to take a bullet for CEO Victoria Sterling didn't just save her life, it changed his forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The rain hammered against the hospital windows as Marcus sat in the cold plastic chair, his 7-year-old daughter Emma sleeping restlessly in the bed beside him. Her pale face looked so small against the white pillow, tubes running from her tiny arms to machines that beeped softly in the darkness. "Mr. Johnson?" The doctor's voice was gentle but tired. "We need to discuss Emma's treatment options." Marcus looked up with hollow eyes. Dark circles shadowed his face, and his clothes were wrinkled from sleeping in the chair for 3 nights straight. Since losing his wife Sarah to cancer 2 years ago, Emma was all he had left in this world. "The surgery she needs, it's experimental," Dr. Martinez continued, sitting down across from him. "But without it, her heart condition will only get worse. The problem is the money." Marcus finished, his voice barely a whisper. "How much?" $200,000. "Insurance won't cover experimental procedures." Marcus felt his world crashing down around him. He worked 2 jobs, cleaning offices at night and driving delivery trucks during the day. But even working 16 hours a day, he barely made enough to cover their small apartment rent and Emma's basic medical needs. "I'll find a way," he said firmly, taking his daughter's small hand in his. "Whatever it takes," Dr. Martinez nodded sympathetically. "You have 2 weeks, Mr. Johnson. After that, we'll have to discuss other options." As the doctor left, Marcus kissed Emma's forehead and whispered, "Daddy's going to save you, princess. I promise." 3 days later, Marcus stood outside the gleaming headquarters of Sterling Industries, the city's largest corporation. His plan was desperate but simple. He would beg CEO Victoria Sterling for help. He had read about her charity work in the newspapers. Maybe, just maybe, she would have mercy on a dying child. But as he approached the building, angry shouts erupted from the parking garage. Marcus heard a woman scream, and without thinking, he ran toward the sound. "Please, David, don't do this." The voice was elegant but filled with terror. Marcus rounded the corner to see a tall man in an expensive suit pointing a gun at a beautiful woman with auburn hair. Her designer clothes were torn, and fear filled her green eyes. "You ruined my life, Victoria," the man snarled. "You took everything from me in the divorce. Now I'm taking everything from you. Sir, put the gun down." Marcus stepped forward, his hands raised. "Whatever this is about, we can talk. Stay back!" David Sterling spun toward Marcus, his eyes wild with rage and desperation. "This doesn't concern you." "There's a better way," Marcus said calmly, moving slowly closer. "Think about what you're doing. Is revenge really worth throwing your life away?" "You don't understand." David's voice cracked. "She destroyed me. Took my company, my money, my reputation. I have nothing left." Victoria Sterling, Marcus realized this was the CEO he had come to find, watched in horror as her ex-husband's finger tightened on the trigger. "David, I can give you money," she pleaded. "We can work something out." "It's too late for that." David screamed, and Marcus saw the madness in his eyes. In that split second, Marcus made a choice that would change everything. As David pulled the trigger, Marcus lunged forward, pushing Victoria out of the way. The bullet hit Marcus in the chest, and he collapsed to the cold concrete floor. Marcus drifted in and out of consciousness over the next few days. When he finally opened his eyes, he was in a private hospital room with flowers everywhere. A woman with kind green eyes sat beside his bed. "You're awake," Victoria Sterling said softly. "I wasn't sure. The doctor said it was close." "Emma," Marcus whispered, trying to sit up. Pain shot through his chest. "My daughter. I need to—" "She's fine," Victoria said quickly. "She's here in the children's wing, getting the best care possible." Marcus stared at her in confusion. "I don't understand." "You saved my life," Victoria's voice was thick with emotion. "You took a bullet meant for me, a complete stranger willing to die for someone he'd never met." Tears filled her eyes. "Why would you do that?" "Because it was right," Marcus said simply. "No child should lose their parent to violence." Victoria was quiet for a long moment. "Tell me about Emma." So Marcus told her everything. About Sarah's death, about Emma's heart condition, about working 2 jobs and still not having enough money for the surgery, About feeling helpless and desperate. The experimental surgery, Victoria said when he finished. Dr. Martinez told me about it. It's already been approved and scheduled. I can't pay for it, Marcus said, shame burning in his chest. I came to your office that day to beg for help, but I don't have anything to offer in return. You already gave me everything, Victoria whispered. You gave me my life. As Marcus recovered, Victoria spent hours at the hospital. She had taken personal leave from her company, something she had never done in 15 years of building Sterling Industries from nothing. There's something you should know, she told Marcus one evening as they watched Emma color in her hospital bed. About David, about what really happened. She pulled out a folder thick with documents. I've been investigating since the shooting. David didn't lose everything in our divorce because I was greedy. He was stealing from the company, our company that we built together. Millions of dollars. Marcus looked up from the financial papers. He was embezzling? For years. Gambling debts, bad investments, other women. When I discovered it, I had two choices. Turn him into the police or let him walk away with nothing. I chose mercy, her voice hardened. But mercy wasn't enough for him. He wanted me to take the blame for his crimes. That's why he tried to kill you. He thought if I was dead, he could claim I was the one who stole the money. My life insurance would have covered his debts and he would have gotten control of the company again. Marcus felt sick. The man had been willing to murder his own wife for money. I'm telling you this because I want you to understand, Victoria continued. What you did that day, you didn't just save me from a bullet. You saved me from a man who had been slowly destroying my life for years. Emma's surgery was a complete success. As she recovered, Victoria visited them every day, bringing books, toys, and most importantly, hope. I've been thinking, Victoria said one afternoon as they watched Emma play with other children in the hospital playroom, about what you said when you saved me, about no child should lose their parent to violence. It's true, Marcus replied. Children deserve better than the world we're giving them. I want to do something about that. I want to start a foundation, help families like yours. But I need someone to run it, someone who understands what it means to fight for your child. Marcus stared at her. I want you to help me change lives, Marcus. The way you changed mine? I don't know anything about running a foundation, but you know about sacrifice. You know about love. You know what it means to put someone else's life before your own. Victoria's eyes were bright with purpose. I can teach you the business side, but the heart of it, that has to come from someone who's lived it. 6 months later, the Johnson Sterling Foundation opened its doors. Marcus, now fully recovered, threw himself into the work with passion he'd never felt before. Every family they helped reminded him of those desperate nights in the hospital with Emma. The foundation provided emergency medical funding for children, supported single parents, and offered job training programs. Within a year, they had helped over 500 families. You've found your calling, Victoria told Marcus one evening as they reviewed grant applications in the foundation office. You gave me a purpose, Marcus replied. Before this, I was just surviving day by day. Now I feel like I'm actually living. Victoria had changed too. The cold corporate executive had been replaced by a woman who knew every family they helped by name. She spent her weekends visiting children in hospitals and her evenings planning new programs. Emma's doing well in school, Marcus mentioned, looking at his daughter's latest report card. She's remarkable, Victoria smiled, just like her father. There was something in her voice that made Marcus look up. Over the months, their partnership had grown into something deeper. Late nights at the office, shared meals, conversations that lasted until dawn. Somewhere along the way, they had become more than colleagues. I never thought I could feel this way again, Marcus admitted one evening as they walked through the city park. Emma was at a sleepover with friends she'd made through the foundation's programs. After Sarah died, I thought that part of my life was over, that all I had left was being Emma's father. Victoria took his hand. Sarah would want you to be happy. How can you be so sure? Because any woman who loved you would want you to find joy again. She wouldn't want you to spend your life alone. They stopped walking and faced each other under the streetlights. I love you, Marcus said quietly. I know it's complicated with Emma and the foundation and everything we've built together, but Victoria silenced him with a kiss. I love you too, she whispered against his lips. I have for months. What about Emma? Marcus asked. She's been through so much loss already. Emma already loves me, Victoria smiled. And I love her, not as a replacement for her mother, but as someone who wants to help you raise her, if you'll let me. Their happiness was shattered 6 months later when David Sterling was released from prison on a technicality. His expensive lawyer had successfully argued that his mental state at the time of the shooting warranted a reduced sentence and early release. He's been making threats, Detective Rodriguez told them during an emergency meeting at the police station. His weathered face was grave with concern. We have him under surveillance, but you need to be very careful. What kind of threats? Marcus asked, instinctively pulling Victoria closer to him. His protective instincts had grown stronger since they became a family. Against you specifically, Mr. Johnson. He blames you for ruining his entire plan. If you hadn't interfered that day, he believes he would have succeeded in killing Victoria and framing her for the embezzlement. In his twisted mind, you're the reason his scheme failed. He's completely obsessed with revenge, Victoria added quietly, her voice trembling slightly. He's always been that way, even during our marriage. In business deals and personal relationships, if someone crossed him or stood in his way, he never forgot. He would plan and wait for months to get back at them. Detective Rodriguez leaned forward. We found notebooks in his cell filled with detailed plans for revenge. Drawings of your apartment building, Emma's school schedule, even maps of the foundation office. This man has spent every day of his imprisonment planning how to hurt you both. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He stood at the large window of Victoria's penthouse apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below and thinking about the beautiful family he had built. Emma was fast asleep in her new bedroom, surrounded by books, stuffed animals, and toys that Victoria had lovingly chosen for her. Victoria lay peacefully beside him in their bed, the woman he planned to marry next month. He had everything to lose now. Everything that made life worth living. And David Sterling knew exactly how to destroy it all. The weight of responsibility pressed down on his shoulders. He had saved Victoria once, but could he protect both her and Emma from a man consumed by hatred and revenge? The next few weeks were filled with tension. Police cars patrolled their neighborhood regularly. Emma had to be escorted to and from school by security guards. The foundation hired additional security, and Victoria moved her most important meetings to secure locations. I hate this, Emma said one evening as Marcus walked her to her bedroom, past the security camera monitors that now filled their hallway. Why does that bad man want to hurt us? Marcus knelt down to Emma's eye level, his heart breaking at the fear in his daughter's eyes. Sometimes people get so angry and hurt that they can't think clearly anymore. They want to blame others for their problems instead of fixing them. Like when Tommy blamed me for breaking his toy when he dropped it himself. Exactly like that, Princess. But much more serious. Emma hugged him tightly. You'll keep us safe, won't you, Daddy? Always, Marcus promised, though doubt gnawed at his heart. I will always protect you and Victoria. 2 weeks later, during Emma's highly anticipated school play where she was starring as the lead princess, their worst fears came true. Marcus and Victoria sat in the packed auditorium, watching their daughter shine on stage. When Detective Rodriguez appeared beside them urgently, "He's here," the detective whispered, his hand resting on his weapon. "David's somewhere in this building. We're evacuating quietly through multiple exits, but I need you both to stay calm and follow my lead." Marcus felt ice water flow through his veins. His eyes immediately went to the stage where Emma stood in her sparkly costume, reciting her lines with innocent joy, completely unaware of the danger surrounding her. "Where exactly is Emma?" Marcus asked, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Still performing on stage with the other children. My team is coordinating with the teachers to get all the kids out safely through the back exit behind the curtains, but we need to move you two now." But as they quietly made their way toward the emergency exit, trying not to cause panic among the other parents, David Sterling suddenly appeared from behind the stage curtains. He looked completely different from the well-dressed businessman Marcus remembered. His hair was long and unkempt, his clothes were dirty and torn, and his eyes held a wild, desperate madness. In his shaking hand was a black pistol. "Did you really think you could just be happy?" he snarled at Victoria, his voice echoing through the now silent auditorium. Parents and children froze in terror. "Did you honestly think you could destroy my entire life and then just move on to play house with your new family?" "David, please," Victoria said calmly, though Marcus could hear the tremor in her voice. "There are innocent children here. Whatever anger you have toward me, don't take it out on them. I don't care about the children. His voice cracked with years of suppressed rage and bitterness. "I only care about making you suffer the exact same way you made me suffer. You took everything from me, my company, my money, my reputation, my future. Now I'm going to take everything from you." Marcus stepped protectively in front of Victoria, his body shielding her just as he had done in that parking garage over a year ago. "This is between you and her, David. Let all these innocent families go first. They have nothing to do with your problems. You," David's bloodshot eyes focused on Marcus with pure, burning hatred. "You're the one who ruined everything. If you hadn't interfered that day, Victoria would be dead right now and I would have gotten away with everything. I would have my life back. Your life was ruined by your own choices," Marcus said firmly, keeping his voice steady and calm. "You chose to steal money from your own company. You chose to gamble it away on bad investments. You chose to try to commit murder. Victoria didn't do any of that to you. You did it all to yourself." "Shut up," David screamed, his voice breaking with emotional pain. "You don't know what you're talking about." In the terrified silence of the auditorium, Marcus could hear children crying softly, teachers whispering urgent instructions for the evacuation, and parents trying to comfort their scared kids. Somewhere in that crowd of frightened voices was Emma, and the thought of his daughter being afraid gave Marcus the strength he needed. "You want revenge against me?" Marcus said quietly, his eyes never leaving David's face. "Then take it. But let everyone else go first. Let the children leave safely." "Marcus, no," Victoria grabbed his arm desperately. "Don't do this." "It's okay," he told her gently, still watching David. "Emma's going to need you now more than ever. Be the mother she deserves. Give her all the love and opportunities she should have. You think you're some kind of hero?" David laughed bitterly, but there were tears streaming down his face. "You think saving her once makes you special? Makes you better than me? I think protecting the people you love is what makes life worth living," Marcus replied quietly. "It's what gives meaning to everything we do, something you never understood during your marriage." For a long moment, David's face showed confusion and pain, as if he was remembering something from long ago. I loved her once," he whispered, his voice breaking, "before everything went wrong. Before the gambling, before the debts, before I started making terrible choices." "No, you didn't love me," Victoria said, stepping up beside Marcus despite his attempts to keep her protected. "You loved what I could do for you. You loved my business success, my money, my social connections, but you never actually loved me as a person." "That's not true." David's hand shook violently as he held the gun. "If you had truly loved me, you wouldn't have stolen from our company, the business we built together from nothing. You wouldn't have betrayed everything we worked so hard to create. And you definitely wouldn't be here now trying to hurt innocent children because you're angry at me." David's whole body was shaking now. "You don't understand what it's like to lose absolutely everything, to have nothing left." "Yes, I do understand," Marcus said quietly, thinking of Sarah. "I lost my wife to cancer when Emma was only 5 years old. I almost lost my daughter to a heart condition that I couldn't afford to treat. I know exactly what it feels like to have everything you care about taken away from you." "Then how?" David's voice cracked with genuine anguish. "How can you be happy? How can you just move on and build a new life when everything you had before is gone?" "Because I chose to build something new and beautiful instead of destroying what was left," Marcus answered with complete honesty. "Because when I had the choice between love and hate, between helping others and hurting them, I chose love. I chose to make the world better instead of worse." The words seemed to hit David like a physical blow. His angry expression crumbled, and for a moment the violent, desperate man was replaced by someone who was simply broken and lost. "I can't," he whispered, looking around at all the frightened faces staring at him. "I can't go back to being nothing. I can't live with what I've become." "You're not nothing," Victoria said gently, her voice filled with compassion despite everything he had done to her. "You're a human being who made some terrible choices. But you can still choose differently right now. It's not too late to do the right thing." David looked at her with surprise, then at Marcus, then down at the gun in his trembling hand. Police sirens were getting closer and closer outside. In just a few minutes, it would all be over one way or another. "I'm sorry," he whispered, and for a hopeful moment Marcus thought he was going to surrender peacefully. Instead, David turned the gun toward his own head. "No," Victoria screamed. But Marcus was already moving, lunging forward to grab David's arm. "Don't do this. Your life still has value." The gun went off during their struggle, the bullet hitting the ceiling. David collapsed to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably as police officers rushed in to surround him. "I'm sorry," David kept repeating as they put him in handcuffs. "I'm so sorry for everything." As paramedics checked everyone for injuries and police took statements, Marcus held both Victoria and Emma tightly in his arms. His daughter had run to him the moment the danger was over, her princess costume torn but her spirit unbroken. "Is the bad man going to hurt us anymore?" Emma asked. "No, princess," Marcus whispered into her hair. "He's never going to hurt anyone ever again." The aftermath of that terrifying night was difficult for everyone involved. Emma had vivid nightmares for weeks, often waking up screaming and crying for her daddy. Victoria blamed herself constantly for bringing such danger into their peaceful lives, convinced that her past had nearly destroyed the family they had built together. "I should have seen this coming," Victoria told Marcus one evening as they sat in the foundation office, working late after Emma had gone to bed. "I knew David better than anyone. I should have predicted he would do something like this." "You're not responsible for his choices," Marcus replied firmly, taking her hands in his. "You didn't make him steal money. You didn't make him try to kill you. And you definitely didn't make him threaten innocent children. Those were all his decisions. But slowly, with professional therapy sessions, lots of family love, and the passage of time, they all began to heal from the trauma. Dr. Sarah Chen, their family therapist, helped them process their fears and emotions in healthy ways. "Daddy," Emma asked one evening as Marcus was tucking her into her bed, reading her favorite bedtime story, "why did that scary man want to hurt Miss Victoria?" Marcus closed the book and sat on the edge of her bed, choosing his words very carefully. Sometimes when people are deeply hurt and very angry, they make terrible choices. They think that hurting other people will somehow make their own pain go away, but it never actually works that way. "Is that why you helped her that first time? To stop him from making bad choices?" "I helped her because it was the right thing to do," Marcus explained gently. "Just like if you saw a friend being bullied at school, you would want to help them, right?" Emma nodded thoughtfully. "Are you going to marry Miss Victoria soon?" Marcus smiled, his heart warming at the question. "Would you like that, princess?" "Yes," Emma said without any hesitation, her face lighting up with joy. "She makes you happy, Daddy, and she makes me happy too. I think Mommy would want us to be happy, don't you?" "You're absolutely right, sweetheart," Marcus said, kissing her forehead. "Mommy would definitely want us to be as happy as possible." 3 months later, David Sterling was sentenced to 15 years in prison for attempted murder, making terroristic threats and endangering children. During his sentencing hearing, he finally took full responsibility for his actions and publicly apologized to Marcus, Victoria, Emma, and all the families who had been terrified that night. "I lost myself completely to anger and jealousy," he told the judge with tears in his eyes. "These good people didn't deserve any of what I put them through. I hope someday they can forgive me, though I know I don't deserve their forgiveness." Marcus and Victoria attended the sentencing, holding hands tightly as they watched the man who had caused them so much fear finally face justice for his crimes. 1 year after that terrifying night at the school, Marcus and Victoria were married in a beautiful, intimate ceremony at the very children's hospital, where Emma had received her life-saving heart surgery. The location was perfectly symbolic, the place where their story truly began, where strangers became family through acts of love and sacrifice. Instead of traditional wedding gifts, they asked all their guests to make donations to the Johnson Sterling Foundation, which had grown dramatically and now helped over 50 families every month with medical expenses, job training, and emergency assistance. Emma was the flower girl, absolutely radiant in a pink dress that perfectly matched her bright, joyful smile, as she walked slowly down the makeshift aisle in the hospital chapel, carefully scattering rose petals while grinning at everyone. Marcus felt his heart swell with overwhelming happiness. The foundation had grown far beyond their wildest dreams, helping thousands of families across the entire country. Victoria had made the difficult decision to step back from her demanding day-to-day operations at Sterling Industries, choosing instead to focus completely on their charitable work. Marcus had discovered he had a natural gift for public speaking and had become the foundation's primary spokesperson, traveling to conferences and events to share their story. Dr. Martinez, who had saved Emma's life, served as the officiant for their wedding ceremony. "Do you, Marcus, take Victoria to be your lawfully wedded wife?" he asked with a warm smile. "I do," Marcus said clearly, looking deeply into Victoria's sparkling green eyes. I promise to love her completely, protect her always, and build the most beautiful life possible with her and Emma. And do you, Victoria, take Marcus to be your lawfully wedded husband? I do, Victoria replied, happy tears streaming freely down her face. I promise to love him with all my heart, support his dreams, and be the very best stepmother I can possibly be to Emma. As they kissed passionately, sealing their marriage with love and commitment. Enthusiastic applause and cheers filled the small hospital chapel. Doctors who had treated Emma, nurses who had cared for them, families whose lives they had changed through the foundation, and dear friends they had made along their journey all celebrated joyfully with them. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Martinez announced with obvious pride, I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Marcus and Victoria Johnson. 7 years after that life-changing day in the parking garage, Marcus stood in that exact same spot where everything had begun. A documentary film crew was interviewing him for a major television special about the Foundation's incredible impact across the nation. Mr. Johnson, your foundation has now helped over 50,000 families through medical crises, job loss, and emergency situations. How does it feel to know that one single moment of courage has created such an enormous wave of positive change? Marcus smiled warmly, thinking about his beautiful family waiting for him at home. Victoria was there with Emma, who was now 14 and volunteering at the foundation every weekend, and their energetic 5-year-old son Michael, named after Marcus's father, who had taught him that real men protect those who can't protect themselves. They also had 2-year-old twin daughters, Sarah and Grace, named after Marcus's late wife, and the grace that had brought their family together. Their house was always filled with laughter, love, and the organized chaos that comes with a large, happy family. I think about that day often, Marcus said thoughtfully to the camera. Not just the shooting or the violence, but the choice I had to make in that split second. I could have walked away, minded my own business, stayed safe, but I thought about Emma, about the kind of world I wanted her to grow up in. What exactly went through your mind in that moment? I thought about my daughter having to live in a world where people don't help each other, where violence wins, where good people do nothing when they see someone in danger. I couldn't be part of creating that kind of world for her. The interviewer leaned forward. And now, looking back at everything that's happened since then? Marcus looked around the parking garage, remembering the fear and desperation that had filled this space 7 years ago. Now it was just a normal place where people parked their cars and went about their daily lives, completely unaware of the life-changing events that had occurred here. Now I know with absolute certainty that every single day, we all get opportunities to choose between love and hate, between helping and walking away, between making the world better or worse. The foundation exists and thrives because thousands of people choose love every day. Victoria and I have this incredible marriage because we chose to build something beautiful together. Our children have bright, hopeful futures because so many people in our community chose to support and love them. The foundation has expanded internationally now. What drives that continued growth? Every family we help reminds us of our own story, Marcus explained. Every parent who's desperate to save their child. Every person who's lost everything and needs a second chance, they're all us. We could have been any of them if circumstances had been different. What's next for the Johnson family and the foundation? We keep growing, we keep helping, and we keep believing that one person's decision to do the right thing can change absolutely everything. Marcus looked directly into the camera with conviction. Because I'm living proof that it can and does happen. After the interview ended, Marcus walked slowly to his car, pulling out his phone to call Victoria. How did the filming go? She asked, and he could hear the twins giggling in the background. Really well. I told them about the day that changed everything, about how love always wins if we're brave enough to choose it. Are you okay? I know talking about that day still brings back difficult memories sometimes. I'm more than okay, Marcus said, meaning it with every fiber of his being. I'm perfect. I'm driving home right now to my amazing family. What more could any man ask for? Well, you better hurry, Victoria laughed. Emma's making dinner with Michael's help, which means we'll probably need to order pizza. And Sarah drew you a picture of our whole family that she's very excited to show you. Tell them Daddy's on his way home, Marcus said, his heart full of overwhelming gratitude. As he drove through the familiar city streets toward their house, Marcus reflected on the incredible journey that had brought him to this moment. The devastating pain of losing Sarah to cancer, the desperate fear of almost losing Emma to her heart condition, the violence and terror of that day in the parking garage, and the beautiful love that had somehow grown from the ashes of tragedy and loss. He had saved Victoria's life in a moment of instinctive courage, but she had saved his heart and soul in return. Together, they had built something far more meaningful than just their marriage. They had created a legacy of hope and love that would continue long after they were gone. The foundation now operated in 12 countries, had helped over 50,000 families, and employed hundreds of people who shared their mission of turning tragedy into hope. Emma was already talking about taking over the foundation someday, following in her parents' footsteps of helping others. Sometimes, Marcus reflected as he pulled into his driveway, the bravest and most important thing you can do is simply choose love when the world offers you nothing but fear and hatred. Sometimes one single moment of courage and compassion can change not just your own life, but the lives of thousands of people you'll never even meet. And sometimes, when you reach out to save someone else without thinking about the cost, you discover that you've actually saved yourself too. As Marcus walked up to his front door, he could see his entire family through the large window. Victoria helping the twins with a puzzle, Emma teaching Michael how to set the table properly, all of them laughing and talking over each other in the beautiful chaos of a house filled with love. This was his reward for choosing courage over fear, love over indifference, action over apathy. This was the life he had almost never gotten the chance to live. This was what happened when ordinary people chose to do extraordinary things simply because it was right, and it was absolutely, perfectly, wonderfully complete.